Hello everyone, we're going to look today at using Serum to create some transitional effects. We're going to start with risers and we'll see where we can go from there. So I'm going to pop in a MIDI channel in Ableton and I'm going to drop down a note. Might just chuck it in, let's say F3. Cool, so we got that. So when we think about a riser, usually risers, it depends like what style you're going for, but for your typical riser, you want something that's going to be increasing in pitch, that's going to be filtering and losing or gaining certain frequencies as the time goes along. You're going to want something that's a bit reverbed out and something that's very sort of like spacious, has some width and all that sort of stuff. So if we just want to make a simple riser, just bump your unison up, we'll go 9, bring that down a bit. We're going to put on a low pass MG low 6 just off the top, just so that that high end isn't there anymore. Turn on oscillator B, and leave that on unison 1. That just adds a little bit more mono content so that the mids are a little more powerful. And obviously we want that to be affected by the filter too, so turn on B there. And then going into the effects, I'd say we want to add some distortion. And probably some chorus. Bring the mix down on that. Bit of hyper dimension after the chorus. Bring the mix up, bring the size and the mix on the hyper down. Again, we're just using these subtly. And then on your reverb, put the mix up quite high to like 50%. Now, on the end, we add on another filter here. This can be MG low 6, any sort of low pass filter will do. So we're going to start this, so move your knob here. We can actually add a macro onto that, so put it down the bottom like this so that the macro affects the whole thing. And then we're going to move macro 1 there, and we're going to automate that up. We don't want to start all the way at the bottom. And then for our pitch, we can try 24 semitones. So move the pitch wheel there, and then now, as it goes along, we probably want the reverb to start really high and come down a little bit. So we're going to adjust that mix. So we want it to sort of start washed out, come in a little bit drier, and then we want it to wash out at the end. Now also another thing we'd want to do is add on a filter that sort of goes up at the end, so just remove that Q down so we've got a nice little low pass filter there. But we're just sort of cutting off any information that we don't really want, and it's bringing it up. So that's like your basic sort of idea for a riser. It's just a standard reverbed and distorted out saw that's going, that's rising up like that. Now you can do things to variate on this. So for example, we could add an oscillator onto the level. You can adjust the rate. You could even put it on a non-BPM thing here and you can adjust the rate. You can do stuff like that where you adjust how fast it's going along the duration of the riser. You can also do other stuff too. Like you could start with it being a downer first instead of a riser. So we'll just hit that pitch knob. So we could start with it starting at, I'll go 75, which is 12 semitones up, because the full 24 would be 1. And then we could start it really fast in the LFO rate. Other things we can do is we can add on a phaser, make it a bit more of a guitar ampy feel here. That's just a trick you guys see me do a lot. Rate depth and frequency down, mix all the way up. You could also just use the phaser normally. But personally, I would turn the rate down quite a bit. Turn the mix down too, because this will just add a bit of like variation as it goes along. Now another thing you might want to do at the end is add a compressor. Not a multi-band, but just one that's sort of like... Oh, I could add... Actually, yeah, multi-band would be pretty good. But I'd say put that before the EQ so that the low end is EQ'd out as you go up. So that's just sort of how you would make a standard riser. And like I said, you guys can variate lots on that. Like if we go into post-processing, you could add things like another filter. Sorry, not filter delay. You know, so you could add that with an LFO. So let's say we put the LFO on here, so it's just running like a normal sine wave. So we'll map the LFO to the frequency of the filter. Adjust the rate. You can do stuff like that. You can add on additional sort of distortion, like I might add on some thermal. There's lots of different stuff you can do. So yeah, just start out with the normal sort of riser idea there, and then start variating and then start getting weird. As long as you like know the general rules of making a riser, after that you can start adding whatever effects you want and sort of messing it up a bit to get it sounding unique. Sweet, cheers.